How's it going? My name's Shane. Just got done watching a video by a guy named Conspiracy Dude about Eminem being dead or whatever. And basically the general theory that Conspiracy Dude brought to the table was that Eminem came out around 1998, dropped his first CD, well, his first major label CD, but we're going to get into that later, but he dropped his first major label CD, Slim Shady LP, in 1998, or 1999, I think it was 98. Then he did Marshall Mathers LP, then after that he was replaced by a clone, or an android, or a reptilian. Basically they killed off the Marshall Mathers that first came out and replaced him with a new guy and tried to pass him off as if he was the same guy. So that's the theory. Now, there's been a few different video responses that people have made about this, basically saying that, they don't agree with it or whatever. And only problem with the videos that have been coming out so far, with the exception of like one dude, there was one dude who had a few responses, that were kind of intelligent, but for the most part, it's just been kind of emotional. Everybody's just, he's not dead, Conspiracy Dude, you're stupid. I'm not gonna go that route, because Conspiracy Dude, he presented evidence for his case. So I'm not just going to insult the man. I'm going to present evidence for my case, which is I don't believe what you're saying is to be true. Now, the reason I don't believe what you're saying is to be true is because, one, people change styles. As far as rapping, let's talk from the lyrical standpoint, because that was one of your main arguments. One of your main arguments was that lyrically he's not the same Eminem as he was, back then. His subject matter's changed, his delivery has changed, things like that. Which is true. All of that's definitely changed. I would say like the Relapse CD is probably the last CD where he was flowing like the old Eminem. Like as far as like his cadences and like rhythmically how he was riding the beats, that was probably the last CD that he rapped the same as old Eminem on. Now, he had all the accents and stuff like that, so, aside from that, I mean, just as far as the way he structured the words on the beat, that was the last CD that it was the same. His style changed a lot after that, actually. Like, if you listen from Relapse to Recovery, the whole way he raps is different. He's a lot more aggressive in like his vocal projections. You know what I'm saying? He's a lot like almost more angry. A lot more angst in his voice versus just kind of talking over the beat. Like how a lot of rappers do. He's like almost yelling at the mic now. He kind of uses that same style and delivery on the Bad Meets Evil Hell to Sequel CD with him and Royce. So, that style is different. But let's go back even, before Slim Shady LP. If you're an Eminem fan, like you say, then you have heard of Infinite. You may not have Infinite, but you've heard of it, though. And Infinite, which is really his real first CD, that's his first underground CD, that came out, and I want to say like 96, 97, I think is when Infinite came out. If you listen to Infinite and then you listen to the Slim Shady LP, it's totally different. Totally different. Like it's not even close. They're it's just not the same at all. He rapped like like Nas and AZ and those guys from New York. That's who he was rapping like. You know, I thought I had the CD on my phone. I don't. That's what I was looking at. I don't have the CD on my phone, but if you listen to Infinite, you know, do that on your own time. You can listen to the song Infinite though. That's one of my favorite Eminem songs. But if you listen to that song and then you listen to anything off of the Slim Shady LP, it's totally different, completely different. So by that theory, by saying that lyrically and you know his voice sounds different now, and you know he's not talking about the same things, and um he's not you know rapping the same way over the beats. You know, if that's one of the arguments to say that he's a totally different person and that this is not the same guy and that they cloned him or they found a double or you know anything to that effect, then that means that would have had to have happened in the 90s before he was even signed by anybody. You know, because you know I want to say he's like 42 now. He's like 42 years old, I want to say. So you know, if Eminem's 42 and it's 2013, that means he was born in 1971. So if he was born in 1971, he was probably done with, you know, puberty and like his voice changing and things like that by the 90s, you know, because he was in his 20s then. So from 1996 to 1998, for there to have been that drastic of an artistic change for him, you know, by the theory that you presented, conspiracy dude, by that theory, that means that, you know, he was being replaced since then. So from a, you know, if you want to go by that theory, then we never really knew who the real Eminem was unless you listen to Infinite. But he wasn't famous then, so there would have been no reason to do that. So, you know, and then another point that I wanted to bring up, you know, because if we're going off of, you know, lyrics and flows and stuff being different, then in 1996 he was cloned, and then in 1998 a new guy came out, and then in 2000 another new guy came out, and then in 2009 and you know, so I'm not going with that theory. I don't think that's correct. That's one of the reasons I don't feel like Eminem was cloned by anybody or replaced or anything like that. My second point was to say that you know, Tupac and Biggie and those guys, you know, they were rebelling against the system, and you know that wasn't good, and that's why, you know, they wouldn't clone those guys. You know, but that's kind of Eminem's whole background. You know, like literally his whole background, even from before he was rapping. Like his whole thing was rebelling against the norm. He's a white rapper from Detroit. Like, I'm from Detroit. I'm wearing a Sox hat now, but I'm from Detroit. You know what I mean? And he's a white rapper from Detroit. So it's like, that in itself is rebellious. Then when he got signed and he was saying all that controversial stuff, you know, and he did not change his lyrical content for anyone, you know, that was rebellion. You know, he was always rebelling against the system. So to say that they wouldn't clone Tupac and Biggie because they were rebelling against the system, same with Michael Jackson, that was the other guy, Michael Jackson, to say that they're not going to clone Tupac, Biggie, and Michael Jackson because they were rebelling against the system doesn't really stand any ground either, because Eminem's been rebelling against the system the whole time. So why would they clone him versus, you know, Michael Jackson? Like, I could see them not cloning Tupac and Biggie, you know, because they were controversial, they were black dudes, you know, all that stuff. But Michael Jackson, though, like, white people love Michael Jackson just as much, probably, if not, you know, I mean, I don't have the statistics, but probably, if not the same, more than black people did. So that theory doesn't really hold any weight to me either. So I mean, those are my two rebuttals based on, you know, actual evidence and things like that. So, you know, conspiracy dude, you can call me a zombie, you can you know, call me a monkey or whatever. That's what I see you've been calling everybody else, but that's my educated response to your videos. Thank you, sir.